Who are the criminals who were born with crime in their bones? Let's find out. Starting with number 5, the talented Mr. Chipola. Joey Cipolla is seemingly a real-life talented Mr. Ripley. He was living large, but not by honest means. He conned people out of cash left and right, totaling $1.1 million, including dipping his fingers into COVID relief funds. His house? A massive mansion in Bloomingdale, Illinois, complete with exotic cars like a Lamborghini and Bentley that he had just chilling in the driveway. The guy even flew his own Cessna plane and spent tons at casinos like it was no big deal. But Joey wasn't some high-flying businessman. He was a full-on scam artist. Cipolla once gave a guy a fake $35,000 check for a Corvette, and he formed all sorts of shady companies, like one that parked planes at an airport outside Chicago. But Joey wasn't parking planes like it was some valet gig. He had set up this shady company called 6 North Aviation and stashed planes in hangars at the DuPage County Airport. But he wasn't just storing planes. He was renting them out without providing pilots or crews. He even set up a fake company to sell stolen airplane gear. Then there was his car business on eBay that was a total sham. He'd roll back mileage on cars or straight up take people's cash for vehicles he didn't even have. So he wasn't too far off from a normal used car salesman, right? But Joey wasn't just about the cars and the planes. He got in on that pandemic relief action, snagging over $1 million to fund his fancy lifestyle. Louis Vuitton sprees, jewelry shopping sprees, you name it, he blew cash on it. But his fun wasn't going to last forever. In 2017, there was a sketchy incident at Joey Cipolla's apartment, and a guy named Jeffrey Charles Fox tragically fell 39 stories from the balcony and ended up with the results you'd expect. But here's where things get questionable. Apparently, 2 years before the accident, Fox had been accused of hitting a woman. The woman later ended up being Joey's wife. So of course, there were plenty of suspicions about what exactly happened that day. However, no charges were brought against Joey in relation to this incident, and the medical examiner ruled it as an accident. The authorities eventually caught up with Joey after a string of dodgy moves, such as trying to flee to his roof once when agents raided his place. The guy even tried to bolt once before during a traffic stop, claiming he thought feds were tailing him. Spoiler alert, they weren't. Due to Joey's repeated attempts to evade law enforcement, authorities were hesitant to grant him bail after he was arrested for tax evasion and other financial crimes. These actions raised concerns about his potential flight risk, coupled with the seriousness of the charges against him. Facing the potential 10 years, Joey's lawyer argued for a lighter sentence, claiming he's totally turned a new leaf while in jail. Weird how that happens during a trial, right? But with a history of 15 convictions across 4 states, mostly for bouncing checks for big purchases, his forecast isn't exactly sunny. Joey has left a trail of victims who bonded over their shared nightmares, forming a community with a dedicated Facebook group named Conned by Joey Cipolla. That's definitely an achievement unlocked. Number 4, tipping herself. As originally reported by ABC 11, Erika Denton, a bartender from Cary, North Carolina, found herself in hot water after pulling off a sneaky scam. Over a 6-month period, she was cooking up trouble at Tasu Asian Bistro, altering receipts to score some extra cash. Instead of serving up honesty with her drinks, Denton was swapping the food amounts with the tip totals, raking in bigger tips for herself. This wasn't just a one-time deal either. She reportedly did this trick multiple times, scoring a grand total of $10,000 in ill-gotten gains. The restaurant management finally caught wind of her scheme and let her know that she didn't have to go home, but she couldn't stay there, because she was fired. Now, what's a scam without consequences? Denton got slapped with a charge of falsely obtaining property by false pretense, which is just a fancy way of saying she got caught red-handed. She posted bail, but her days of slinging drinks were over. The management at Tasu, understandably ticked off by Denton's shenanigans, tightened up their ship real quick. They're now double-checking every receipt and plan to start running background checks on future hires. Can't blame them for wanting to avoid another round of trouble. As for Denton, when reporters went knocking on her door, her family claimed she was MIA. Looks like she might be laying low for a while, nursing a cocktail of regret and hoping her 15 minutes of infamy blow over. Number 3, priceless art for sale. Two smooth operators, Barad Kazemi and Raj Nasta, hailing from the UK, pulled off a long con that would make even the slickest scammers blush. They were apparently peddling phony Dali and Picasso paintings to unsuspecting marks, mostly targeting the elderly and vulnerable. Their hustle started with a cold call, posing as a fancy asset management firm, convincing folks to invest their hard-earned cash in art. Victims coughed up anywhere from $2,500 to $3,800 for supposed Salvador Dali masterpieces, then got roped into dropping as much as $26,000 on supposed Pablo Picasso originals. But surprise, surprise, when the artworks arrived, they were about as real as a $3 bill. After realizing they had been tricked, the victims had no way to reach the con men, leaving them with overpriced reprints. Art experts confirmed that the works were fake, worth no more than $400 a pop. Over 125 people got reeled in over a 2-year stretch, some losing their life savings, others getting fleeced for over $200,000. So the cops launched a 6-year manhunt, which started back in April of 2018. A breadcrumb trail led them straight to Kazemi's house. Armed with a warrant, they swooped in, slapped the cuffs on him, also suspecting him of laundering dirty money. Digging into Kazemi's business dealings and bank accounts revealed he had raked in a cool $3.4 million. The money was being sent overseas faster than you could say fraud, with Kazemi and his partner in crime Nasta funneling funds like there was no tomorrow. When the police finally got their hands on their phones, it was like striking gold for the investigators. These digital vaults were a trove of evidence, revealing communication that intricately linked them to an international organized crime syndicate. It was the irrefutable evidence that sealed their fate. After their days in court, Kazemi was slapped with 4 years and 9 months, while Nasta got a 3-year sentence. So far, none of the victims were able to recover their money, but there's a proceeds of crime hearing in the works to claw back some of the cash. Number 2. The Great Escape Attempts. Stephen Morgan Byers, a seasoned con man with a record stretching back 4 decades, thought he could outsmart the cops in New Mexico. As it turns out, he couldn't. Officers grabbed Byers, age 61, on a laundry list of warrants, nearly a year after he ditched his parole, catching up with him at a hospital for what seems to be a legitimate medical problem. Body cam footage captured the hilarious/horrifying moment when Byers, apparently chock full of cunning, convinced the officers to let him go for a number 2. Next thing you know, medics are shouting about someone climbing through the ceiling. Panicked officers stormed the bathroom, only to find Byers had pulled a Houdini, leaving behind a pile of insulation. After a game of hide and seek worthy of a preschool playground, they finally caught him nestled in a wall cavity, looking as comfortable as a cat in a cardboard box, claiming he thought he was having a heart attack. Byers, wanting to hit some Gene Parmesan levels of cunning, decided to give it another go. He once again complained of stomach troubles to get the officer to take off his cuffs to let him use the restroom. They felt he couldn't clean himself properly in cuffs, so they were being nice. 45 minutes later, everyone hears scratching from the ceiling again. So the cops burst into the bathroom, only to find another ceiling panel on the floor and insulation everywhere. Apparently Byers was trapped up there like some raccoon, so police found him and made him climb back out of the hole he made. He eventually asked to use the bathroom again and was roundly told no. Byers had been busy pulling off home improvement scams, leaving people such as Laura Tacker out of pocket to the tune $50,000. Target 7, an investigative news team, played a crucial role in bringing Byers to justice. They interviewed Laura Tacker and 2 other women who fell victim to Byers' home improvement fraud, amplifying their voices and alerting the public to Byers' schemes. Thanks to their reporting, authorities were spurred into action, ultimately leading to Byers' arrest. At the time of this video, Byers is cooling his heels in the Metropolitan Detention Center, awaiting his day in court. Meanwhile, the hospital is left with a $20,000 bill to patch up the mess he made. Once he's sent to prison, someone better let the warden know that if Byers asks for a large poster of Raquel Welch, everyone needs to be on high alert. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to stay right here to find out how this girl got her revenge on her ex. Number 1. The Brazilian bitch Bitcoin Pharaoh. Gladson Achacho dos Santos, dubbed the Bitcoin Pharaoh, didn't just dip his toes in the crypto pool, he cannonballed right into it. But his dive wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. It was more like bullets and betrayal. In Rio de Janeiro, a luxury car was idling at a traffic light, and bam, shots pierced the air. That was the day Nilson Alves de Silva narrowly escaped because he was accused of encroaching on Dos Santos' crypto kingdom. De Silva dodged the worst, but the message was loud and clear. Don't mess with the Bitcoin Pharaoh. Dos Santos wasn't just a big fish in the crypto pond. He was more like a shark, making waves with billions in transactions through his company, GAS Consulting and Technology. With promises of hefty returns, Dos Santos wasn't just making bank, he was filling them. Picture this: flashy jewelry, posh apartments, and sports cars that'd make a millionaire blush. But behind the glitz and glam, Dos Santos allegedly ran a Ponzi scheme, promising returns he couldn't deliver. And when rivals like Wesley Pisano started nipping at his heels, Dos Santos allegedly didn't play nice. Pisano ended up taking a forever nap in his Porsche, with Dos Santos allegedly pulling the strings that put him to sleep. Law enforcement finally caught up with Dos Santos when they raided his mansion, finding millions in cash, Bitcoin, 21 high-end vehicles, expensive watches, and even gold bars. Meanwhile, his wife, Mirlis Jocelyn Diaz-Zerpa, had vanished, allegedly with a jaw-dropping $185 million in Bitcoin. So how was he caught? First off, Dos Santos wasn't exactly subtle about his newfound wealth. He flaunted his riches with flashy purchases, from expensive jewelry to swanky apartments, drawing attention to himself like a flashing neon sign. But it wasn't just his lavish lifestyle that raised eyebrows. It was also the sheer scale of his operation. With billions in transactions flowing through his company, GAS Consulting and Technology, Dos Santos was making waves in the crypto world. Such astronomical figures couldn't escape the notice of financial authorities, who began sniffing around for signs of foul play. Then there were the whispers of wrongdoing swirling around Dos Santos. The accusations of running a Ponzi scheme and ordering hits on his competitors didn't exactly paint him as a model citizen. As word spread of his alleged misdeeds, it wasn't long before law enforcement took notice. The final straw came when Dos Santos allegedly crossed the line, ordering a hit on Wesley Pisano, one of his rivals. With the heat turning up, Dos Santos' days were numbered. But it was an anonymous tip that finally sealed his fate. When federal police received word that Dos Santos was planning to flee Brazil, they sprang into action, raiding his home and seizing millions in cash, Bitcoin, and other assets. Despite mounting evidence against Gladson Achacho dos Santos, early investors in GAS insisted Dos Santos was innocent, a belief fueled by regular payouts and a strange amount of loyalty. This loyalty manifested in public displays of support, with crowds protesting outside major media outlets and federal courthouses demanding Dos Santos' release. Jefferson Brandow, a vocal advocate for Dos Santos, portrayed GAS as an alternative to traditional banking, offering investors a tangible share of profits rather than mere crumbs. Even from behind bars, Dos Santos maintained his innocence, blaming authorities for freezing GAS assets and obstructing payouts to investors. Yet, as Brazilian law enforcement delved deeper into the scope of Dos Santos' empire, they uncovered a staggering number of victims spanning multiple countries, displaying the widespread impact of his scheme. A federal court in Rio de Janeiro ultimately ruled that Dos Santos must return $3.7 billion to investors who fell victim to his Ponzi scheme. Following his arrest and subsequent legal proceedings, Dos Santos has been ordered to comply with the court's decision within 72 hours. However, paying out that amount of money in that amount of time is very unlikely. As of this video, the case is still ongoing. The tale of Dos Santos isn't just about one man's rise and fall. It's a snapshot of a feverish crypto craze that gripped Brazil. With the economy on shaky ground and inflation running rampant, Bitcoin seemed like a lifeline for many Brazilians. But for every success story, there was a cautionary tale like Dos Santos's, reminding us that easy money often comes with a hefty price tag. These are the last people we thought would be doing crimes. Let's get right to it, starting with number 6, the mad girlfriend. Serena Wolf stole her boyfriend's credit card just to leave a $5,000 tip on her breakfast tab. You could probably have guessed why. The New York native was in Florida visiting her boyfriend Michael Crane when the couple had a fight about money. Crane and Wolf had the argument after she asked to use his credit card to buy a flight back to New York, but Crane refused. The little argument must have been pretty significant, though, because Crane put a hold on his credit account, worried that Wolf would try to use his card anyway. He did quickly lift it, though, probably thinking he was just overreacting. Wolf then treated herself to breakfast at the Clear Sky Cafe the next morning with his card she somehow nabbed. Although her meal cost $55.37, she decided to leave a $5,000 tip. When Crane noticed the charge on his card, he confronted Wolf, but she denied using it. So he called his credit card company to report the charge as fraudulent. In response, the credit card company contacted the restaurant to report the charge, but the establishment had already paid out the server, who was going through a hard time after her service dog passed away. So Crane filed a police report where he claimed Wolf may have been drunk at the time of the transaction and was trying to get back at him. She was arrested on a $2,000 bond. If we had to bet, we're pretty sure they broke up. Number 5. Hting Money. Former soccer star Richard Rufus, who played for Charlton Athletic, scammed friends and family out of millions of dollars in a Ponzi scheme to support his lavish lifestyle. Rufus stole roughly $19 million, but only $9 million ever went to his trading account, where he promised investors huge returns. He used the rest to either pay off other investors and for his own use. Rufus lived in a 5-bedroom house on a private estate, drove a Bentley, and wore a Rolex, all funded with investor money. Rufus portrayed himself as a successful foreign exchange trader who could generate significant profits in the currency markets. The heartless retired athlete targeted his own friends and family, luring them with promises of high interest, low risk investments with 60% returns annually. Rufus presented himself as such an expert on the topic that he had created his own trading style and methodology and said it was those factors that led to his success. He said that his ultimate goal was to create a legacy by helping others become wealthy. Rufus also told potential investors that major financial institutions like Barclays Bank, Coutts Bank, and other soccer players had invested with him, but couldn't give details as the information was confidential. Former Chelsea defender Paul Elliott was on the board of Charlton Athletic's charitable trust, which Rufus became an ambassador for after a knee injury forced him into retirement. Elliott ended his own successful soccer career with a similar injury, so the two bonded and became friends. Elliott helped Rufus navigate life after soccer and learned about Rufus's trading methodology a few years into their friendship. It seemed Rufus was an expert in his field, having raised millions for his church and working with other soccer players. While he didn't give Elliott the names of any of his investors, he implied that Elliott would be familiar with them. Over the course of 3 years, Elliott gave Rufus $540,000, and he appeared to make a profit of $40,000 through his investment. But the money didn't come from trading. Rufus paid him out using money from other investors in a classic pyramid scheme move. Construction engineer Vincent Nairn met Rufus when he renovated Rufus's home. The pair became close, and Rufus offered Nairn the opportunity to earn significant money by investing with him. Rufus explained that he spent a lot of time and money on training to be proficient in foreign exchange trading. He had become an expert in trading and made a lot of money for other people and companies. Since Rufus appeared to live a lavish and expensive lifestyle, Nairn was sold on the idea, so why not give it a shot? Nairn gave Rufus about $15,000 with the expectation that he would make roughly $536 a month on his investment. Rufus said the investment could yield roughly $7 million over 12 years and promised he would cover any of Nairn's losses. It sounded like a no-lose situation. But after the investment, Rufus confessed that he didn't have approval from the Financial Services Authority, known as the FSA, but claimed he could still trade while awaiting approval. However, his trading accounts were eventually frozen. He told Nairn he couldn't accept any more funds, claiming there were discrepancies with the trades that took place, but never gave any specific details. Rufus insisted Nairn would get his money back as long as he signed a document claiming that Rufus didn't owe him any money, which was certainly not a red flag. Nairn was putting down a new carpet in Rufus's home when the FSA turned up to repossess the property. After a brief trial, Rufus was found guilty of fraud, money laundering, and carrying out a regulated activity without authorization. He got 7.5 years. Rufus fooled a lot of people with his scam, probably after all those years honing his acting skills playing soccer. Number 4. Buy, sell fakes. Senior citizen Mayo Gilbert McNeil ripped off $800,000 from unsuspecting people by selling fake sports cards. Nobody expects to be scammed by a kind-looking old man, which was exactly how McNeil was able to do it. The 82-year-old senior citizen from Colorado lured sports trading enthusiasts through the internet and online selling platforms. He offered an impressive collection of trading cards, such as valuable 1986 Fleer Michael Jordan rookie cards. McNeil told buyers that the cards were graded by a professional authentication company, which they were not, mainly because they weren't real. Over 4 years, McNeil's victims spent hundreds of thousands of dollars buying the fake cards, some trading authentic cards for McNeil's fake ones. One victim spent $4,500 for one of the fake Michael Jordan cards, and another sent McNeil 2 authentic Tom Brady football cards in exchange for 2 fake Jordan ones. McNeil's scam operated nationwide until the FBI collaborated with the NYPD to bring him down. Authorities arrested McNeil in Denver and charged him with conspiracy to commit wire fraud. He's expected to be arraigned in New York City at a later date. Number 3. The German scam ist efficient, ja? Gerard Bauer allegedly stole money from his company to build a boutique winery farm and horse ranch on his Virginia property. The German national funneled over $4 million from his employer, which is believed to be industrial firm Frenzilit, as he was listed as the firm's U.S. subsidiary. Over 7 years, Bauer used corporate checks to pay for his personal expenses. He created fake invoices to make the transactions appear legitimate and business-related. Bauer took $1.5 million to fund the construction of his private enterprises, Goose Creek Farm and Otium Winery, and his horse ranch based in Purcellville, Virginia. Otium Cellars offers German and Austrian wines, and Bauer also used some of his company's funds to buy hundreds of bottles for the winery. New owners purchased the company a few years later and reimagined it as Otium Winery. Bauer's farm raised and sold Hanoverians, a horse breed that originated in Germany. On top of his business expenses, Bauer spent $146,416 for private school fees at Foxcroft School, a boarding school for girls. He also used $357,683 to pay off his credit card debt. Bauer was indicted on several charges, including mail fraud and embezzlement. He pleaded guilty to the embezzlement charges and faces a maximum of 20 years in prison. He probably should have just offered up the remaining business to his old bosses. If he just started sharing all the profits, he might have gotten away with it. Number 2. Prince Opal? Former high school principal Hillary French made fake expense claims so she could embezzle school funds. French worked at Newcastle High School for Girls, a private school in northern England, where tuition is $18,000 a year. French ran her scam for nearly 2 years. During that time, she submitted a series of expense claims for 65 gift cards from John Lewis, a British luxury department store. French said the gift cards were for gifts for coworkers, rewards for high-performing students, or thank you gifts for guest speakers. She claimed a total of $3,800 in expenses for the cards. Towards the end of her career at the school, she traveled to the city of Bath to support the school's hockey team during a competition. When she returned, French told the school she shared meals with former students who were either studying at Bath University or other nearby colleges and submitted $300 in claims for meal expenses. However, while she did travel to Bath, French didn't spend time with the hockey team or former students. The girls she claimed she spent time with all said they hadn't seen the principal since they graduated. The school found out about the scam when French accused somebody of stealing an expensive coat. She said she ordered a designer coat to be shipped to the school, which was delivered but immediately stolen. It costs around $300, and she submitted a claim for it. However, the police recovered the allegedly stolen item from French's trunk, which they searched after she made the allegations. She was arrested but denied any wrongdoing in her police interview. In court, she pleaded guilty to 3 counts of fraud. The Girls' Day School Trust, which governs her former employer, released a statement acknowledging her misuse of power. During her trial, the judge condemned her actions, tarnishing her long career as a teacher and role model. While French avoided jail time, she did receive a 6-month sentence, suspended for 1 year, and 150 hours of unpaid work. French also had to pay back a portion of money she stole. And who had that kind of relationship with their school principal where they would bump into you in a college and take you out to dinner? A teacher? Maybe, but a principal? Isn't it usually the kids in trouble all the time that knew the principal? Number 1. Happy landings. A group of flight attendants moonlighted as escorts and charged wealthy clients thousands of dollars for their services. Voi Tai Han, a flight attendant for Vietnam Airlines, oversaw the operation. She employed the women and negotiated with clients, offering them at the hotel for $1,000 to $3,000 a night. Han recruited attractive flight attendants and sent customers images of them in their uniforms. She contacted some of her former co-workers to offer them extra income during layovers in Vietnam and scouted local models. Han also posted pictures of herself on yachts and staying at luxury destinations around the world on social media. She shared images of herself working as a cabin crew for Vietnamese Airlines, where she welcomed customers and luxury guests. Although she appeared to be a flight attendant who enjoyed a jet-setting lifestyle, law enforcement believed her posts were a ruse to draw other women in to work on her scam. Once clients picked their favorite cabin crew member, they transferred money to Han, who would arrange the meeting between the men and women. Han employed at least 30 women, most of whom were flight attendants. The operation was lucrative, and Han was able to quit her job as a cabin crew member to run the ring full time. Over the course of a few months, she made roughly $42,000. Han charged clients a $290 booking fee plus $991 for a 90-minute session, or $2,972 for an overnight stay. Police raided a luxury hotel in Ho Chi Minh City, where they discovered 3 flight attendants and 1 model spending time with different men. Officers arrested the women along with their Madam Han. There has to be a massage parlor joke somewhere in there, but we're not making it. Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comment section what superpower you'd rather have. The power to be invisible whenever you want, or the power to read minds?